Have you ever felt that little jolt of panic when your phone dies and you in an unfamiliar place? No GPS, no maps, just you and your terrible sense of direction. It's a modern-day nightmare, right? But imagine being an ancient sailor, with nothing but an endless ocean in every direction. No landmarks, just sun, stars, and a whole lot of uncertainty. How did they ever find their way? B. The answer lies in a tiny, almost magical device that completely revolutionized how we see the world, the compass. Before the compass, long-distance travel was a high-stakes gamble. Sailors hugged the coastlines, terrified of losing sight of land. Venturing into the open ocean was like stepping into a void. They navigated by the sun's position during the day and the North Star at night. But what happened on a cloudy day? Or a starless, stormy night? They were quite literally lost at sea. Early trade routes were slow, inefficient, and incredibly dangerous. The world felt vast, disconnected, and full of terrifying unknown empty spaces on the map. Then, everything changed. The story of the compass begins in ancient China, not for navigation, but for something else entirely: fortune-telling and feng shui. As early as the Han Dynasty around 200 BC, the Chinese discovered that a mineral called lodestone, a naturally magnetized piece of iron ore, would always align itself in a north-south direction when floated in water or suspended by a thread. They called it a south-pointing fish or south-pointing spoon. Initially, it was used by mystics and geomancers to align buildings and determine auspicious dates. It was a tool for harmonizing with the universe, not for crossing it. It took over 1,000 years for this mystical tool to become a practical navigator. Around the 11th century, during the Song Dynasty, someone had a brilliant idea. If this device always points south, couldn't it guide ships when the sun and stars were hidden? Chinese sailors began using simple wet compasses, a magnetized needle floating in a bowl of water on their junk ships. This allowed them to navigate the South China Sea and the Indian Ocean with unprecedented confidence, opening up new, more direct trade routes and making maritime commerce more reliable than ever before. The technology didn't stay in China for long. Through the bustling trade networks of the Silk Road and maritime routes, the concept of the magnetic compass spread westward. By the 12th and 13th centuries, it had reached the Arab world and then Europe. Arab traders, who were masters of Indian Ocean navigation, quickly adopted and improved the compass. European mariners, who were still mostly coast-hugging, were about to have their world turned upside down. Early European compasses were pretty basic. A magnetized needle was simply pierced through a piece of straw or cork and floated in a bowl of water on the ship's deck. It was wobbly and not very precise, but it was a game changer. For the first time, a ship captain had a reliable sense of direction, regardless of the weather or time of day. This was the key that would unlock the great unknown. The arrival of the compass in Europe coincided with a growing ambition for exploration and trade. Nations like Portugal and Spain were eager to find new sea routes to the riches of the East, bypassing the land routes controlled by their rivals. The compass gave them the courage to do it. It wasn't just a tool, it was a confidence booster. It whispered to sailors that they could leave the familiar coast behind and not be lost forever. This newfound confidence, powered by the humble magnetic needle, directly fueled the age of discovery. Think about the legendary voyages. Christopher Columbus in 1492, sailing west into the vast Atlantic, relied heavily on his compass. While he famously miscalculated the size of the Earth, his compass kept him on a consistent heading, eventually leading him to the Americas. A few decades later, Ferdinand Magellan's expedition circumnavigated the globe, a feat that would have been utterly impossible, unthinkable even. Without a reliable way to know which way was which in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, the compass didn't just help explorers find new lands, it fundamentally changed the art and science of map-making or cartography. With the ability to sail in straight lines and accurately record headings, map-makers could create charts that were far more precise than before. Coastlines were mapped with greater detail. The true shapes of continents began to emerge from the mists of myth and speculation. The world started to look like the globe we recognize today. The empty spaces on the map, once marked "Here be dragons," were being filled in with actual navigable coastlines and islands. The economic impact was colossal. The compass enabled the establishment of global trade networks. Spices from the East Indies, gold from the Americas, and goods from all corners of the world could now be transported across oceans with greater efficiency and safety. This global exchange of goods also led to a global exchange of ideas, cultures, technologies, and unfortunately, diseases. The compass didn't just connect ports, it connected civilizations, for better and for worse, knitting the world together into a single global system. Over the centuries, the compass continued to evolve. The simple floating needle was replaced by the dry card compass, where the needle was attached to a card marked with the points of direction, all housed in a sturdy box. Then came the liquid-filled compasses, which were more stable on rough seas. In the 20th century, the gyro compass was invented, which points to true north instead of magnetic north and is undefected by a ship's metal hull. Today, of course, we have GPS, a system of satellites that can pinpoint our location anywhere on Earth with incredible accuracy. It's easy to look at the GPS on our phones and think the magnetic compass is an obsolete relic. But we'd be wrong. Every smartphone still has a tiny digital magnetometer, inside a modern-day descendant of that ancient Chinese lodestone. It helps your map app know which way you're facing. Pilots and sailors still learn to use and trust a traditional magnetic compass as a critical backup. Because satellites can be blocked, batteries can die, but the Earth's magnetic field is always there. So, the next time you glance at your phone for directions, take a second to appreciate the incredible journey of that little directional arrow. It's a journey that started over 2,000 years ago, with a south-pointing spoon used for spiritual harmony. It empowered sailors to conquer their fear of the open ocean, led to the mapping of our entire planet, and created the interconnected global world we live in today. It's proof that sometimes, the simplest ideas can have the most profound impact, guiding humanity on its greatest adventures. The compass didn't just show us the way, it showed us what was possible. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this journey through history interesting, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more stories about the tech that shaped our world. See you in the next video. And don't forget to purchase our digital magazines.
Digital magazine Wonders of Nature. Fascinating articles. Stunning photographs. Delivered in PDF format. Get them in the links of our channels. Purchasing digital magazines is a good way to stay informed.